It feels like home, home, home. It feels like home, home, home. It feels like home.
Hey there friends, welcome to Well Done Home. I am Tanya and we are just trying to do about 1,000 things around here today. First of all, I am working on some sourdough bread for tonight, and this is where we're at right now. I had it covered. I made the dough last night before I went to bed, and this is the same recipe as for my bagels, but today I just want to show you how super simple it is to make it into a loaf of bread. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that you've greased your pan, and then I'm going to, while I still have some butter on my hand, I'm going to reach down and grab the dough from last night, and I added golden raisins to this. You can leave it plain. But I'm going to show you from the beginning, so we're kind of going in reverse. The boys had this for breakfast from a couple nights ago, and then we have Bible study coming over tonight, so I wanted to make something yummy and fresh, and my favorite is with the raisins in it, so I remade that one. We're going to have some steak and some fresh bread and some salad for dinner tonight. Probably trying to throw some kind of vegetable. So basically you just want to plop this out onto your counter, and it doesn't really even need to be floured or anything at all. So there, it comes out pretty easily. And then I just let that sit for a couple minutes, let it just rest on its own for a minute, and then I'll show you how I roll it up, and then I just put it into the bread container and it's good to go from there. So let me get this cleaned while we're waiting. So I actually am going to show you how to do this from scratch, and then I'll just have an extra loaf. This one, like I said, has some golden raisins in it, but I just kind of want to press that out, and then I'll just roll it in toward itself. Let's just go this way. Sure that it's gonna roll in almost like you're making cinnamon rolls, but you don't put anything in the middle, although you could put some butter and yumminess in the middle, and that would be delicious. And I just put that right on into the pan. This is actually a little bit stickier. I must have used a little bit more starter or a little bit more water than I needed. But anyway, it looks just like that, and then I'm gonna go ahead and cover it up with a towel. But first, I will show you how I started that last night, and it is so simple. I make it probably every other night or close, and we either make it into bagels or I make it into a loaf. And like I said, this one has raisins in it, but you could do dried apricots, you could do some nuts, you could do chocolate chips, or you could just leave it plain. It's delicious all of those ways. But the thing that I always find with sourdough to be a little off-putting is all of the folding and stretching, and I have done them that way to make the beautiful sourdough loaf that has the crack in the top and looks like that. This is just sandwich bread. It's going to be different, but it's not fussy at all. It doesn't take any extra time, so I appreciate that it's just so easy. I'm going to show you how I feed my starter, because I've given my starter to a couple of friends of mine, and they're like, so what am I supposed to do with it now that I got it? And I'm so glad I gave some starter to a friend of mine, because we went away and I forgot to feed my sourdough starter before we left, and then I forgot to leave instructions to feed it, and so when I came back it had a really nasty smell and I had to throw the whole thing out. But a dear friend of mine had my starter still left, so this is the revitalized version of my very own starter. So I really like this starter. It's super easy, and if you don't know how to do sourdough from nothing, you literally just start with flour and sorry, not flour and sugar. I like everything with flour and sugar. You start with flour and water, and the recipe that I like best is from Farmhouse on Boone. She just walks you through step by step and tells you exactly how to start your own starter. But anyway, this is already bubbly and active. I'll maybe see if I can get a separate shot of it, but then I'm gonna add some flour and some water to it, and that's how you feed it. So equal parts flour and water are how you feed it, and then you just mix that in, and then it's good to be used. Oh, and my wonderful helper just overheard me. So this is just a cup of flour I'm gonna add to it, and then I'll get a cup of water. So it's just a cup of flour, a cup of water, and then I left my fork. So you just feed it with equal parts flour and water. And I use a cup because I use this all the time. I put this in if I'm making cupcakes, or if I'm making muffins, or if I'm making scones, or if I'm making anything that requires liquid, pancakes, waffles, all those things. I'm gonna put a good portion of this starter into it, and that is how I keep my starter good and fresh and fed, and it also helps with adding some more digestible nutrients to our regular recipes. So you just want to mix the flour and the water around, and then you can see, if you look toward the edges, how it's already starting to bubble up. And this is right straight out of the fridge. So this is a really good active starter, because right out of the fridge a lot of times you won't have that kind of activity, but when you feed it, you want to make sure that it has all these bubbles. So then I'm just going to take a good cup of this and put it into my KitchenAid bowl that we've just washed. And then I'm going to combine that with a cup of water. I'm going to put in just a couple of glugs of honey. So I'm getting low on this honey. It makes it harder for me to measure because it doesn't glug anymore. So let's say that's two glugs. So probably about 2 tablespoons-ish. I hate to measure honey because it always gums up whatever you're measuring it in. So I don't usually measure honey, I just kind of eyeball it. You're gonna need this. So then I'm gonna run really quick, and I'm gonna fill this in our pantry with some bread flour. So you have to have 4 cups of bread flour plus a couple of tablespoons. So let me go get that. So that's 4 cups plus a little bit, I don't know, like 2 tablespoons. I kind of see how it goes. You want it to just be nice and firm dough, so you don't want it wet. I had it a little bit too wet in this last one. So then I'm going to do 2 teaspoons of salt with that. And I just pour that right up on top of the flour. And then I just take my same fork, and so that's what we've got right there. And I'm going to first mix in the salt so that it's not in a big clump. So I mix in my salt just kind of with the top of the flour. I always mix kind of my dry ingredients if I can get away with it. I hate to sift and whisk and do all those things. So if I possibly can, I just put the dry ingredients on top and then use my fingers or use a fork to kind of get them to come together. So it's really, really dry. And I'm gonna see if that will just come together. So I get it about like that, and then I let the KitchenAid work with it for a little bit. So let's see how shaggy that is. So then I'm gonna put my dough hook in, move it over to the mixer. And I'll just turn it on and we'll see how we do.
So at this point at night when I make it, and this is literally I make almost every night, but at night I go wash my face and get my toothbrush, and I just leave this running. So it goes about 7 or 8 minutes, and then I come back and it's usually really well mixed. Alright, if you want to come back and just show the inside, it's all come together. It was really shaggy, looking like it's not going to come together, but as you look, now it's all holding. And like I said, I'm just letting this go for 7 to 8 minutes, and you can obviously get your dishes done or whatever else you need to do. But if you've not ever tried sourdough, this is like, or maybe if you have tried sourdough and you've been like, wow, this is way too much work and it didn't come out, try this sourdough recipe. It is so simple, so easy. And if you have sourdough starter, it's literally just a cup of the sourdough starter, a cup of water, some honey, 4 and a little bit of cups of bread flour. It's important to use bread flour. It's higher in protein, the bread flour, and so the gluten is more structured, so it's going to give you a better quality bread on the other end. But the bread flour and then a little bit of salt, and then you just let it go overnight, plop it into a bread pan, let it rise, and then you come out with a beautiful loaf.
So this is a tiny bit too wet to me. It's not super sticky, but I'm thinking it needs just maybe a 1/4 cup more of flour, and that's gonna help it so that it isn't so sticky on the other end. So we'll just try and get a little bit more flour in there. So this is what it looks like. This is probably about 4.5 cups actually. So it's, I would say, between 4 and 4.5 cups. But you want to just be able to get it off. See how easily it comes off. It doesn't leave a lot of residue of itself. It's not sticky, so my hands don't have anything on them. That's what you want to look for. You don't want anything soft on this side. This is not a super soft dough. I would call this a stiff dough. So then I'm just going to take it and form it into a ball. It doesn't stick to my hands at all. And I'm just going to stretch that top so that it's nice and tight. And put that back into the bowl. I'm not going to even grease the bowl or do anything. You could grease the bowl, it would probably come out even easier, but I'm skipping any extra steps. I just leave it in there like that. And then I'm going to put some saran over the top to protect it from getting a skin on the top of our dough. And then I let this sit. Usually I will let it sit overnight. I'm hoping that by tonight I can make something with it because I don't normally do this during the day, but I wanted to show you how to do it from start to finish, just to show you how easy it is. And now my starter, now that I have used it, I'm just gonna go ahead and put it back into the refrigerator for the next time that I'm ready to use it, and I'll probably use it tomorrow for either blueberry muffins or peach muffins or some pancakes or something. And so I want to have it nice and fed and ready to go, and it will be. So I'll just put that back in the fridge. You could leave it on the counter. If you're planning to use it daily, you can leave it on the counter, but I like to keep it in the fridge just so that I don't mess up like I did when we went out of town to Georgia. Anyway, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I hope that this is helpful. I hope that it will give you the courage to try and start some sourdough of your own, and it is really, really, really easy and absolutely delicious. It's not one of those mild tasting sourdough. It's not a mild sourdough that's like that friendship bread that kind of went around, or I don't know, it's like that cinnamon friendship bread. It's not like that. It's a literal sourdough. It's like the sourdough that you would get, like San Francisco sourdough flavored. It's that sour, yummy, and kind of hard texture. But this is just to make a sourdough loaf that you can use for sandwiches. So anyway, I hope that helps. I hope you're having a great day. day, and I'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.